In this tutorial series, we will be creating this nice realistic gaming chair from scratch. In the first part, which is this tutorial, we will focus on modeling our gaming chair from scratch by following an easy step-by-step guide. Next, we will learn unwrapping and texture painting. And finally, we will learn to rig our gaming chair. And this is the final result that you're going to be able to achieve by the end of this tutorial series. Alright, so the first thing that I actually do is to print the blueprint. So I'm going to just click here and I'd like to delete everything. So I'm going to press A, X and delete all the objects that we got in our scene. And let's go back into these blueprints. I'm going to simply drag and drop the first one. The front blueprint, you're going to find these in the resources. I'm going to press N. And I'd like to reset the location as well as the rotation. So I'm going to just select all these locations, press 0 to have it right at the center. And same thing here for the rotation. I'm going to just select all these items, 0 and press enter. So what I'd like to do right now is to press 1 to jump or to hover over the front view, which is here. I'm going to try RX and I'd like to spin it by 90 degrees. You can just type 90 and press enter. So now we got it on the front. Also, I'd like to set or to put the wheels on this line. So I'm going to just do this, so GZ, and take it all the way to the top. Also, I'd like to reduce a little bit the opacity of our image texture so we can jump here into the image object data properties. And I would like here on this opacity, I'm going to check it and reduce it to something like 0.75. All right, so now we can see through that image, which is awesome. I'm going to just move it down just a tad so that the wheels can match with the X axis. All right, so now it's time to bring the second blueprint. So I'm going to just exit that mode and I'd like to bring the second blueprint, which is this one. I'm going to repeat the same steps. First, I'm going to reset the location as well as the rotation. So RX, let me spin it by 90 degrees, and also RZ, I'd like to spin it by 90 degrees again. Same thing here for this object data properties. I'd like to set the opacity to 0.75. Excellent. So I'm going to just go to the side. You can press 3 and I'd like to move it up until it matches. The wheel is going to match with the green axis, which is the Y axis. A little bit up, and basically that's it. Excellent. I'm going to just move this one backward, this one to the side like this. All right, so let's go ahead and start the process of modeling our chair. So I'm going to press 1 to go to the side here, and I'd like to start with the mesh. So it's going to be just a plane. So Shift A, let's go to mesh plane. So there we go, we got our plane. So basically all I need is just one vertex to start modeling our chair. So here on the edit mode, I'm going to be selecting, make sure that we are on the vertex mode. I'm going to be selecting only one vertex, and I'm going to press Ctrl I to reverse the selection so that we can select every other one. I'm going to press X and dissolve or delete vertices. So now all we have is just one vertex. All right, so I'm going to press 1 to go to the side, and on the edit mode, I'm going to be selecting my vertex and I'm going to take it all the way to the top here. Gonna start from this position, but also I want you to make sure that your chair is right at the center. It's a little bit off here, so I'm gonna just try GX, try to move it sideways to make it centered, something like this. So now it's pretty much good. It's right at the center of our grid. All right, so let's select our vertex and I'm gonna start from here. I'm gonna press E to extrude, and I'd like to continue this path like this. So I'm gonna just take, so make sure to use just fewer vertices. So just continue this turn all the way to the bottom. All right, so we got the exterior edge of our chair done. So what we need to do right now is to add the mirror modifier so that we can mirror this mesh on the other axis, which is the X axis. So to do that, I'm going to be jumping here into this modifiers, and I would like to add the mirror modifier. So make sure that it's on the X, because here, this is the X axis. We are mirroring on the X. So if you are on the Y, for example, you can choose the Y axis. So I'm going to just go here with the X axis. I'm going to press 1, and I'd like to show you a problem that you might face. So if we select, for example, this one vertex, and if we try to move it, it's going to go beyond the center. So actually we don't want that. We want to stop right at the middle, which is here. So to do that, we need to check this clipping. I'm going to just check it, and basically if we drag that vertex, it's going to stop exactly at the middle. So I'm going to need to do the same thing for the bottom. So I think, yeah, this one over here, I'm going to just take it a little bit forward, sideways to the left side until it connects, it matches with the other one. All right, so now it's time to jump on the side view. So I'm going to press 3 to jump on the side view, and I'd like to start tweaking it. So as you can see, the side view is not perfect. So what I'd like to do is to simply bring it down. So GZ, I'm going to try to bring it down like this. All right, so what I'd like to do is to select our wireframe object, this this mesh that we just created. I can just go to the side by pressing 3, and on the edit mode, I'd like to move it forward. So basically we need to follow this curve that we got here, this nice curve. So to do that perfectly, I'm gonna be enabling the proportion editor. So this tool allows us to move vertices while having effect over the nearby vertices. So this happens inside the range. You can control this given range by scrolling your mouse up or down. Alright, so now I'd like to start adding details on the inside of our chair. So I'm gonna press 1 to get back to the front. So as you can see, we have a perfect match here on the corners of our chair. So on the edit mode, I'm gonna be, for example, selecting one vertex, Shift D, gonna place it, for example, here, and I'm gonna try to extrude, for example, this, and after that, I'm gonna extrude all the way to the bottom here. So make sure to add one vertex for each edge that we got here. So extrude again here, another extrude, and there's no need to make it perfect. Another extrude, I believe we have another extrude over here. Finally, we can add the last one. I'm gonna just connect it with this bottom vertex. So we can select them both and press F to fill. So here on the inside, I like to start creating this nice shape. So for example, you can select one vertex, and I'd like to press E to extrude it, and I'm gonna take it all the way here, and I would like to add another extrude. So extrude and connect it like this so that we can have that smooth end. So I'd like to do the same thing to all these edges. So let's repeat the same steps. Also for this top window, I'd like to start modeling it. So I'm gonna just, for example, start from here. I'm gonna press E to extrude and continue all the way to the end like this. Alright, so basically there we go. So we got right now the skeleton of our chair. So what I'd like to do right now is to add more details to this object. So right now you can see that it's a low quality mesh. So here on the modifiers, I'm going to be adding the subdivision surface. Now you can see it has more details. I'm going to just bump up the level viewport to 2. So now as you can see, we have some very nice looking shape that looks awesome. So this is going to be making a great start for our chair. So the next step is to jump on the side. I'm going to press 3 to jump on the side, and we need to, and here what I'd like to do is align these vertices with the back side of our chair, something like this. Alright, so now what I'd like to do is to start filling these gaps that we got here. So on the edit mode, I'm gonna select 2 edges, press F to fill, and also here select these 2, press F to fill. Alright, so I'm gonna be just doing the same thing to all these faces that we got here. So simply repeat the same steps. You can press 1 to go to the side to make it easy. Press F and continue doing this all the way to the top. For example, here on the top, it's a little bit tricky. I'm gonna just hide the subdivision modifier so that we can better see these edge lines. So for example, let me just dissolve this vertex. This one, we can move it to the center. So we need to use fewer vertices so that we can have better geometry. All right, so let me just take this one up like this one down. Awesome. Can bring back subdivision to check that out. Okay, so I'm gonna insert double edge loops right here, select 4 vertices, press F to fill, and continue this way. All right, we got these. You can insert another edge loop right here. Okay, press F, and basically got it. We filled that gap. So same thing here on this side. I want you to do this. So for example, let me select these 4 vertices, press F to fill, and basically just continue like this. You're gonna be selecting every 4 vertices and pressing F to fill that space. So you can also add additional edge loops in case you need them, so that you can make the connection much more easier and smooth. So same thing here for the top. You can just select every 4 vertices and press F to fill them. Also make sure to fix the gap that we got in our chair. It might get messed up along the way, so just fix it. Alright, so our next move is going to be to extrude this object, give it some depth. So I'm going to select everything on the edit mode. So press E and extrude backward like this. Something like that. You can give it less depth. Alright, after that I'm going to just bring back the subdivision. Take a look at this. Looks awesome. Might want to bring it backward just a bit. Alright, so now what we need to do is to start working on the smallest detail. So I'm going to press 1 to go to the front here. On the edit mode, I'd like first to define this edge that we got here. You can see that here in the reference. So let me just bring it closer a little bit. You can see this edge here, it's more defined. So we need to do the same thing on our mesh. So Control R, and I'd like to insert an edge loop like this. So right now, as you can see, it's more defined. The next thing to do is to define these shapes that we got here. So with this one selected, let's press 1, go to the side here. Gonna press Z, switch to the wireframe so that we can see which points to select. Make sure that you are on the edge selection mode, and let's select, for example, these 3 edges. I'd like to just hide the subdivision. Gotta make sure to select everything first. And after that, I want you to do the bevel. So Control B to bevel these sections like this. And after that, the next move it's gonna be to insert multiple edge loops over here. So Control R, that's the first one. Control R here. So continue all the way to the top like this. All right, so the last move it's gonna be to select all these edges. So I'm gonna press Shift and Alt to make sure that everything is selected here. So the last thing to do is to move these inside. So I'm gonna grab the Y-axis and try to move them inside like this. All right, so let's bring back our subdivision modifier to see that change. As you can see, it looks pretty much good. I really like the final result. All right, so for other details, I'd like to bump a little bit this side here. So on the edit mode, I'm gonna be inserting a new edge loop, for example here, and I'd like to grab only, for example, that's the first one, control the last one and try to move it outside like this. Here, I'm gonna just bring it backward, probably a little bit down, and basically that's it. So it looks bumpy and we got some nice details going on here. All right, so let's create this object. It's gonna surround this hole that we got in our chair. So on the edit mode, I'd like to jump on the face mode here, and I'm gonna press Alt to select the entire row of faces and type Shift D to duplicate this part. So I'm gonna press P and separate selection. After that, with that object selected, what I'd like to do is this. I'm gonna be adding, for example, let's add the solidify modifier to give our object some depth like this. And after that, I'd like to give it the bevel. So let's add a new modifier. It's gonna be the bevel. All right, so let's work on it better to make it fit our object, our chair. All right, so for the last detail that I'd like to add is this strip that we got around our chair. It looks really good. It gives our chair some nice details that makes them looks good. So on the edit mode, I'm gonna be inserting a new edge loop here on the middle. So Control R like this. And what I'd like to do, for example, I'm gonna try to select these, try to bring them back a little bit. Probably a little bit down, so we need to have that corner a little bit sharp. Okay, something like that. So on the edit mode, I'm gonna press Alt to select this entire row, Shift D, right click to cancel that, and press P, separate selection. So now we got that edge line like this. Let me just grab it. All right, there we go. So I'd like to apply the mirror modifier and the subdivision, and what I'd like to do is to convert this object into a curve. So you're gonna understand why I'm doing that in just a second. So I'm gonna go here to Object, Convert into a curve. Here in the curve properties or the object data properties, I'm gonna scroll down to the geometry tab. You can click on it, and I want you to change this depth value. So let's set it, for example, to 0.01. All right, excellent. It looks awesome. All right, so our next move is gonna be to start developing the base or the bottom of our chair. So what I'd like to do is to jump on the side. Let me show you. So we need to create this section here, this part. So what I'd like to do is to create a new plane. So Shift A, Mesh Plane. I'm gonna just, on the edit mode, try to take it up, for example here, and let's divide it into 2 parts, Control R, like this, and I'm gonna just delete the second part, X, delete. And what I'd like to do is to combine it with our chair so that this mesh or this plane can inherit all the modifiers that we got, the subdivision modifier and the mirror modifier. So select the plane first, Shift select the chair, and try Control J. So now it's gonna be combined into 1 part. After that, I'd like to separate it. So on the edit, select this unit, this plane, and press P, separate selection. All right, so let's get to work. I would like first to develop the edges of our plane. I'm gonna just take it backward here, and I'm gonna do this so easy to go up. So we need to create this kind of exterior edge like this. I'm gonna take it up. Also here, I'm gonna be selecting those, bring them back right here. All right, I'm gonna press 3 to go to the side. So we need to have it well aligned. I'm gonna just take it to the bottom, for example here. And let me just switch to the wireframe, try to bring it forward. All right, so here I'm gonna be inserting an edge loop, so Control R, let's bring it right here. I'm gonna take the top like that. So we need to match the same line that we got in our blueprints. There we go, nice. I'm gonna just check it from the outside, it looks awesome. So here I'd like to move it backward. We can insert another edge loop here, select these 2, move them back like this. For those, you can move them forward. All right, so we need to avoid any kind of clipping problems. All right, after that, I'd like to extrude this object. So on the edit mode, select everything, press E, and extrude them like this. I'm gonna take it to the bottom a little bit, right click and shade smooth. All right, so let's work here on the chair base. So I'm gonna duplicate just one face to start with, extrude it up, and keep adding edge loops to define the corners of that chair base. For the front here, I'd like to add another edge loop to lift that front up, and it's gonna look nice. Here on the side, we can add this nice stitch sculpt because it's gonna be helping us later on when we're gonna be doing the texture painting. So for these chair handles, we're gonna be relying on the side blueprint. We're gonna just press 3 to jump on the side. So we're gonna start by one vertex and keep extruding it along with that handle blueprint edge. And just keep pressing E to do all that extruding. And also make sure to add the subdivision modifier to have that higher quality curve line. Next, we need to extrude this edge inward and start filling these faces by selecting every 4 vertices and pressing F, the F key, to fill that empty space. Next, we will extrude the inner edge and fill it to create this nice inset. Alright, so now what I'd like to do is to start working on the pillows. I'd like to add two kind of pillows, one on the top and one on the bottom. So I'm gonna just start with the simple cube, and what I'd like to do is to just trim it a little bit. After that, I'd like to add the subdivision modifier, but also here I'd like to use the mirror modifier so that we can only work on one side. You can add that and keep adding edge loops to your pillows until we got that initial shape, that nice looking shape. So just continue the video and you're gonna see that. And basically that's it, we got our chair modeled. So our next step is gonna be to start texturing. So I'm gonna see you in the next coming tutorial. Take care.